Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special town meeting of October 28, 2019. We ask that everybody who is not a safety officer take a seat. And prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting, we will have a Pledge of Allegiance led by the color guard of Girl Scout Troop 76116. Ladies, would you come forward, please?
Audience attention, Girl Scouts attention, Girl Scouts advance.
Would you please stand?
Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, let us open tonight's meeting. Are there any preliminary motions?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that we dispense with the reading of the warrant.
Motion made, seconded as read. Discussion. Hearing none, will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that we dispense with the reading of the articles and that reference to them be made by number and content.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there discussion? Hearing none, will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town consider adjournment this evening at 11 p.m.
Motion made and seconded as read. Discussion? Hearing none, will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Article 1.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town accept the reports of the town officials.
Are they oral reports or written reports?
Can't speak to anybody else.
Well, customarily, we hear oral reports at the meeting.
Mr. Moderator, move to amend the word except to hear the reports of town.
Thank you. All right. Motion made and seconded to hear the reports of town officials. It's been seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Selectmen, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. To the citizens of Dighton, since our annual town meeting in June, we have purchased the property next door to the town hall. Although its future use is unknown, we thank the residents for providing the funds to add to our town hall campus. We had a successful auction of surplus items. The town received a little bit more than $49,000. As a result of a longtime town accountant resigning, we have hired Christopher Laviolette as our new town accountant. We welcome him to Dighton and we wish him success. We paid the last bill on the police station, completing its construction. The Board of Selectmen formed a regionalization study committee to look at the issues facing our school department. Working with the policy committee, the Board of Selectmen have approved some new policies. As a result of some concerns expressed by town residents, we have partnered with Serpent to conduct a speed study of some of our roads. We have asked the police department to increase enforcement in specific areas. We have applied for a complete street grant as well as an ADA self-evaluation grant this month. We have received funding from MEMA for hazard mitigation planning and to receive designation as an MVP community. We have created some new websites to improve communication to residents. We have repurposed the trailers at the police station as our new animal shelter. Our new animal shelter is located at the transfer station and is the old police station is being used for temporary storage for the highway department. The Board of Selectmen continue to monitor the progress of their 5-year plan on a quarterly basis. These plans include increased ADA compliance in all town buildings, town hall renovation, explore a fuel depot, studying sewer expansion, explore moving a highway garage, and the construction of a new library. The Board of Selectmen would like to thank the citizens of Dighton for their continued support. Respectfully submitted, Dighton Board of Selectmen, Kenneth Chico Chairman, Brett Sagrantis as our clerk, and Nancy Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chico. Assessors? School? No report. Finance?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Finance Committee will make its recommendations as part of the motions this evening. We begin tonight's special town meeting with $1,324,000 in free cash. If all articles are passed as recommended, we will end the night with $300,000 remaining in our free cash balance. We are currently, after annual town meeting headed in tonight, $127,000 below the levy limit. And if all articles are passed as recommended tonight, we will end tonight about $500,000 below the levy limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Are there any other town officials here with an oral report? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the reports as read. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? We'll put the motion to accept the reports as read to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Article 2. Mr. Schwartz.
I move that the town vote to authorize a total expenditure of $22,000 to be raised and appropriated to fund FY20 personnel expenses for employees covered under the recently settled highway union collective bargaining agreement.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thanks. Is there discussion? We'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. 3.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that $403,175 that the town vote to transfer from certified free cash in the treasury, the sum of $403,175 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen to make the second payment of the police station bond to reduce the tax rate.
Second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. Mr. Schwartz, before I request your recommendation, could you please tell us the numbers a little more slowly?
$403,175.
In no sense?
No sense.
403, 107,
No, 175. 403,
175. Thank you. Does the Finance Committee have a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Any discussion?
If I can just.
Please.
Just to explain, at annual town meeting, we voted to raise and appropriate the funds for the second payment of the police station. As it has been for the past 2 years, one of the goals of the Finance Committee is to not use the debt exclusion, if not necessary, to make the payment that the town voted to use for a debt exclusion to build the police station. So with that commitment, one of our first priorities with free cash is to reduce the tax rate and not continue to not put that burden out year after year, if possible, to pay it within the funds that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions from the floor? We'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. 4. Is there a motion under Article 4? Hearing no motion, we'll pass on 4. And there are no prior bills. 5.
I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $18,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen as the town's match to develop a municipal vulnerability preparedness plan and hazard mitigation plan.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a Finance Committee recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. 6, is there a motion from the floor on Article 6? Hearing that no motion has been made from the stage or from the floor, I declare no motion under Article 6 and go to Article 7.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $2,000 to fund budget 54988 coordinator. Board of Selectmen recommend.
Does the Finance Committee have a recommendation?
Finance Committee does not recommend.
Okay. There's been a motion made and seconded as read by Mr. Pacheco, and the Finance Committee does not recommend. Care to speak, Selectman, care to speak to the motion?
Yes. So each selectman has been given 2 items for a future plan for the town, for a 5-year plan for the town. One of my items is to make all of our town buildings ADA compliant. We've applied for a ADA self-evaluation grant of $30,000, which we hope to get. We'll hear in December about that. And that will result in hiring someone for the town to look at all of our buildings to see whether or not we're in compliance, so that we can come up with a transition plan. I would like to hire an ADA coordinator for the town. I'm asking that we pay this person $25 an hour up to 10 hours a month, total $250 per month for this position. In the past, we've had selectmen be our ADA coordinator, we've had others be our ADA coordinator, and they've been reacting to problems that we found in different buildings in the town. I'm asking that we hire an ADA coordinator to be proactive, that we look at our buildings, and we see whether or not we're in compliance, if there's any barriers, that we correct those barriers so that we don't face any future litigation. Now, if we show that we're trying to make our buildings ADA compliant, and they're not all ADA compliant, it's likely that we will not be sued because we're showing that we're making an effort to make these buildings compliant. I want someone to develop a plan for the town and to implement that plan to remove any of the barriers in our town. These barriers will impact you, your family, or your neighbors, and it's important that we reduce and remove any barriers for our residents. If this is approved, this is going to cost the taxpayers 80 cents per year. So you'll get an increase of your taxes of 80 cents. We're talking about spending $1 million tonight, and I'm asking that we spend $2,000 to try to make our buildings as ADA compliant as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Schwartz, do you wish to speak?
So the rationale for the Finance Committee not recommending is, for one, we have taken a position that unless it is an emergency situation, we don't create new positions at special town meeting. This article was brought up at annual town meeting, was not funded. It was revised to be put on the special town meeting warrant. The discussions that took place at the Finance Committee meeting were to establish an ADA commission at first, see where that went, and then come back. The town, it's not that the town can't assign an ADA coordinator. Many communities have either their building inspector or someone in their town that is the ADA coordinator. And we just felt at this time that while we're awaiting a grant to come in, that the town develop the ADA commission first and let the commission decide if it's necessary for us to have a paid ADA coordinator. It is not unusual for a town employee to have as part of their regular job duties to be the ADA coordinator. So there were two reasons for it. One, no commission was ever established, and 2, we don't believe that it's the right time at a special town meeting to be creating new positions. Thank you.
Anybody from the floor? Start on the left side. Yes, sir. Can you tell us your name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Jonathan Gale, 22 Waterford Circle.
Yes, sir.
For clarification purposes at this time, I am the acting volunteer, emphasize volunteer, coordinator for ADA in this town. And $2,000 is not gonna be a salary that I'm not gonna live on that, I'm not gonna go for it at this time. It hasn't been posted at this time. So I wanna make it clear to those who think it's for Jonathan Gale, it's not. I'll start with that. What I will say is that with regard to this town and ADA requirements, I want people to think of a couple of things. First of all, there may have been and could be people who are deaf or hearing impaired who would like to come and attend these meetings. They can't attend because right now there's nothing in place for those folks to attain card services for the deaf, which is the big screen so that they can read what's going on, or for the town to afford sign language interpreters. There's also the ramp situation. I've already been told by people who use wheelchairs they can't attend these meetings because of the wheelchair situation with the ramps. And if you pay attention on the way in or on the way out, they're in deplorable condition. The ramp for the town hall that goes into the main building. I think many people who have other relatives or friends who tried to get over those ramps know they're almost impossible to use. They're outdated, they need to be replaced. The police station, the finance committee alluded to the building inspector. I have to say, the police station was built without an electric door, a brand new, modern building. Correct. Without an electric door that had access for people with disabilities or others to get into. As a result of my efforts, we were able to get someone to donate almost $6,000 in equipment so that it now has electric doors. That otherwise wouldn't have happened, which gives everyone full access. You can't rely on a building inspector, as good as he or she may be, and as responsible as he or she may be. You can't rely on that person to know all of the rules and the regulations that are required for ADA services, which means any one of you who needs a service can go to the town hall and request assistance with services or resources or street crossings, whatever it might be. It's not just about buildings. And I think most people here, I hope most people here are intelligent enough to realize that. $2,000 is a minimal expense to begin the process of putting together a commission. They talked about forming a commission. Unfortunately, the way it works in most towns in Massachusetts with ADA commissions, the people who serve on a commission are the result of having a family member who has a disability. Once that person passes away, they no longer have a need to serve on the commission. So commissions are difficult. With regard to this town coming into the future, the town of Taunton recently, by not being proactive, was sued by a resident. One complaint to the Justice Department has resulted in that town now spending literally millions of dollars to come into compliance. As Mr. Pacheco said, by being proactive with hopefully getting this grant, we are going to become proactive by what we need to do and by starting a long-term planning process. There are residents who have contacted me or come to me about different simple needs in town. It's as simple as I'm moving into town and I want to make my home accessible because I have a mother with a disability. So I'm able to answer those questions. Whoever is in the position can answer those questions. So this goes way beyond simply buildings. If you're going to do the building process in town also, you should be a person who's what's called CAM certified, which is Community Access Monitoring. That person has to be certified by the state and be compliant in order to be able to look at the ramps, look at the buildings, look at the doorknobs, look at all of the things that affect the town to know whether or not the town's meeting the standard, and if not, what they need to do to bring them into compliance. So obviously, you can tell by what I'm saying, I'm in support. $2,000 is a minimal amount to spend for the ability for any of you who might have a disability issue of any kind, a ramp, a need for a family member, somebody in the senior center, somebody in senior housing, whatever it might be, to go to town hall and have a source to speak to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Anybody else on the left side of the room? All right, let's move over to the right. Yes.
Yes,
Mr. Byers.
Tom Byers, Miller's Lane. Just a question for the Mr. Pacheco. Mr. Gales also serves as EEO counsel, would I be correct?
That's not correct.
Not anymore?
Not anymore.
Not in his, so that's an unpaid position?
That I believe are town administrators.
The-
Town administrators, so that's.
Oh, you took that over? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody who has not yet spoken who wishes to speak to this? I'll start with Ms. Goulart.
Ladies and gentlemen, I held this position from approximately 2007 to 2012 or 13, when I was a member of the Board of Selectmen for 7 to 10. And then I was a member of the Finance Committee, and this was an unpaid position. I only had 2 events, which were addressed by town hall employees when it was brought to our attention when it had to be done. The gentleman who followed me also was not paid. This was not a compensated position, and we were both ADA and EEO. All of the things that Mr. Gill mentioned can be done without paying somebody a salary. There are people in this town who have been appointed or elected to boards over and over again that are either not compensated anything or they're compensated less than $2,000. I don't think it's necessary to have a $2,000 funded position. I realize it's not a lot of money, but I'm also looking at all the other people that service this town and have for years with no compensation at all, who hold very responsible positions. Therefore, I don't support this $2,000 expense.
Dr. Zagrafis?
I just wanted to say that, to my colleague's point, that we don't need to pay someone to do this job. I think that the lack of compliance with it being a volunteer position over the years historically has shown that we can't keep up with the need to bring things into ADA compliance with it being a volunteer position. I myself received a complaint, and I forwarded this to Mr. Gale last year at the special town meeting about someone who was unable to access the meeting due to the ramp out there not being sufficient that they could get inside. So these issues are real. We do hear them, and I would feel more comfortable from the town perspective, protecting the town and all of our assets, having someone whose sole focus is to bring things into ADA compliance. So I'm going to support this tonight.
Thank you. Is there anybody who has not yet spoken and wishes to say something on this motion? Hearing no further requests to comment, I will call for a vote. All in favor of the motion made under Article 7, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town
Ma'am?
vote
Could you tell us, please, just first your name and address?
Ashley Fullen, 550 Hart Street, Dighton.
Thank you very much.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $7,500 to be expended by the Dighton-Rehoboth Regional School District to construct a disabled accessible ramp for the new outdoor classroom at Dighton Elementary School.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a Finance Committee recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thanks. Pam, do you wish to speak to your motion?
This is for a handicap, the handicap ramp for the outdoor classroom. As we were driving in, you probably saw it. It's a 16 by 30 greenhouse. In order for all of the students in both the middle school and the elementary school to access it, we need to have a handicap ramp. So we are hoping that you will support this article tonight, so we can get that constructed. Tom Ferry has been doing a wonderful job. I just want to shout out to him right now. He's done a great job with getting it all ready, and we just need this motion to pass so we can get the asphalt in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Let's vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. 9.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $10,000 to be expended by the town administrator to make upgrades to the network infrastructure, including computers, switches, wiring, and related equipment.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Good. Do you care to speak to the motion? Dr. Z?
These funds would be used to connect Old Town Hall to Prime Time through fiber and to purchase other infrastructure and equipment that will allow us to continue the network upgrades that we already started. And by connecting the two buildings, we can eliminate the recurrent subscription charge. We would also boost network speed for our employees who are working on the internet.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Let's Let's vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. 10. Mr. Schwartz.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $24,000 to be expended by the police chief to purchase an unmarked protective vehicle and related accessories.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Finance Committee recommendation.
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Yes.
So Article 10 and Article 11 are kind of a combination article of an article that was placed on the annual town meeting that did not get a recommendation. The town is in need of a new animal control vehicle, as well as some discussion with the police department about adding an additional vehicle and unmarked. So the town administrator, a member of the police department, our animal control officer came together, and we saved ourselves about $20,000 when you put the two articles together and worked collaboratively to come up with a solution to two needs within one and save some money. So it was a great job by three of our departments to come together and put together a collaborative effort to make it work.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. 11.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $6,000 to be expended by the Board of Health to retrofit and letter a used surplus 2014 Ford Explorer to be utilized by animal control.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. 12.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer from PEG access funds a sum of $23,000 to be expended by the Cable Committee to update cable equipment in the lower level conference room.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $5,000 from the Municipal Waterways Improvement and Maintenance Fund, numbers listed in the warrant, to the Additional Equipment Fund, account numbers listed in the warrant, to be used to replace the fabric on the top of the town boat and construct a centralized mounting platform for lights, antenna, and navigational equipment.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. 14.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer free cash the sum of $68,000 be expended by the fire chief to purchase a new utility body truck with a snow plow and any necessary accessories.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a Finance Committee recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thank you. Discussion? We'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. 15.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen to demolish the structure located at 949 Somerset Avenue.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Do you wish to speak to that motion? Mr. Schwartz?
So the request was originally for $40,000, but the town does have a demolition budget set up. So based on the funding that is currently available in that account, the Finance Committee's recommendation is to fund that, which would give it about $40,000 in that demolition account. That account is already set up.
Thank you. Thank you. Discussion? Yes, sir. Could you stand and tell us your name and address, please? Yes, sir.
My understanding is that once this is approved, that house would then be surplus, and the town would act to dispose of it in a normal manner for surplus property, whether that be the house in its entirety, if we can find somebody to take it, or as a salvage operation. I mean, colonial era house, historic floors, doors, etc.,
I'm not quite sure what your question is, sir. This is a motion to fund an account to demolish a structure. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I just, would any of the salvage operation from that structure be used to offset that $20,000?
Is there a salvage operation included in the demolition?
Yeah, I prefer that to the town administrator to maybe clarify that a little bit.
Are you able to answer that?
All right. I would entertain a motion for our non-resident town administrator to be allowed to address the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? Let's go right to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a question.
That's just a lot. We have first, sir, a motion to allow our town administrator to address the meeting because she's a non-resident. That motion just passed. After she addresses the meeting, I'll get to you next. All right?
Yep.
All right, the question for you, Madam Town Administrator, is whether or not, as a part of the demolition of this property, there includes any surplus that may come from the demolition to be applied towards the cost.
Correct. So basically, indirectly, that would happen. We would receive, if we did have a surplus auction for anything that might be of value inside the house, or materials, or the house itself, if somebody could actually move it, we would dispose of that in the best interest of the town through real property, which is of course valuable. We would receive money in for that, but we wouldn't have a special account that would directly offset this cost. It would just come back to free cash the following year.
Sir, if you wish to address the meeting, could you stand and tell us your name and address?
Can I have a I'm Bill Pruitt, I live on Chase Street. I wasn't privy to the reason for purchasing this property. Can you enlighten me? Can someone enlighten me on that?
Well, it's a little bit off topic, but the school art, if you will.
Yes, sir. The reason why when this became available and I recommended that we purchase it is because, number one, it's rare, if never, that we get an opportunity to buy property that's good property that is contiguous to the town hall campus. The property, as we know it, is a house lot, it has utilities, so forth and so on. And that was the sole reason. And when I asked that the town consider purchasing that, it was with the understanding what I was really looking for was the land. We didn't have a plan for the property, meaning the house. But in any case, the first time it was voted down, second time it passed, because it is valuable.
I'm sorry. Did you say you had a plan at that time for the existing structure?
No, no,
Other than demolition?
correct.
Okay, the other question I have, well, I'll make a comment and then a question should be done. The comment is, I was not aware that the function of town government was to take the role of a developer, essentially, buying property on speculation that that property may be worth something to the buyer, similar to a developer.
Mr. Pruitt, if I may bring you circle back onto topic, that issue may have been appropriate at the annual town meeting when there was a vote whether or not to acquire that property. The town has already acquired it. What is before the meeting tonight is funding the demolition. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yes, I have a comment. Is that all right?
You may make a comment,
Okay.
so long as it's on topic.
All right. The comment is that it seems to me that for a town to destroy, I'm not trying to be over dramatic here, but demolish this property is against the spirit of one of the basic functions of the town, which is to preserve historic property. And the reason I say that is because they have such a thing that they appoint members of which is called the Historic Commission of Dighton Historic Commission. And if you look up any kind of, if you Google around, what's the definition of a historic commission in particular towns or cities, it's always the same definition. That is, starts right off, to save and restore historic properties of that town or that city. And since the selectmen appoint those members, they inherit the responsibility to some degree of that definition of that commission. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge. Mr. Pacheco?
Yes, so if this warrant article is approved and is an application to demolish the building, the historic commission will be notified of that. We have in town a 6-month delay on destroying or demolishing historic buildings in town. So I'm a member of the historic commission. I see other members of the historic commission here. And to make it, did that gentleman just leave?
Yes, but you may
Yes.
address your remarks.
So, once the historic commission gets notified that this building's gonna be demolished, we have 6 months to find an owner, someone willing to move the building, someone to take parts of the building. And I can tell you that today I spoke with someone who has an interest in getting the building. We're not just gonna give it away, we would auction it off, that's my understanding, town administrator, and we would see if anybody's interested in purchasing the building. Obviously, if someone's taking the whole building, we don't have to spend the $20,000 that we may be approving tonight to demolish the building. Hopefully, someone's gonna have an interest in the building, to preserve the building. If anything, they'll have to move the building. But I also, too bad the gentleman left, but I voted to purchase the property next door as well as the town's member, but I would not have supported that if I knew that we were gonna destroy the building. It was my intention, hopefully, to preserve the building and possibly have it as an entrance for a new town library. As you may remember, I made a motion at one of our town meetings to spend $60,000.
Yes, but Mr. Pacheco, I think you answered the gentleman's question who is no longer here.
Thank you.
But who's no longer here tonight. But again, this is a funding motion only. It is not a debate over whether or not we should or should not have purchased the property, or to what purpose we should have put the property when we purchased it. Yes, can you stand and tell us your name and address?
Leah Harrell, 2651 Pleasant Street. If we vote yes to fund the demolition, does that like start the countdown for the 6 months that you were speaking of? When does that like the countdown start for the 6 months to find someone to either take the house or take the doors or anything that they perceive as valuable?
Thank you.
When there's an application to demolish the building, the historic commission will be notified of that, and that starts the clock.
Okay, thank you.
Other discussion, comments, or questions? Yes, sir.
Dave Rosa, Lincoln Avenue. I would advocate for not spending this money because we lack a vision of what we're going to do with the property in the near future or beyond. And my understanding is there was some confusion why we bought the property in the first place. So at this time, we can always vote to spend the money later when our vision of what we're going to do with the property is much clearer. So I'm an advocate for not spending the money at this time.
Oh, Jesus. Thank you. Dr. Z?
So, Madam Administrator can correct me if I'm wrong, but a choice needed to be made at the annual town meeting when we went to purchase the property. Either we needed to spend a certain amount of money to bring it into sort of code compliance, or we needed to eventually demolish the building, and that's why Selectman Goulart and I support the demolition. So I just wanted to say that to Mr. Rosa, through you, Mr. Moderator.
Let me ask, is there anybody who has not yet spoken before I ask others who have previously spoken to speak again? Mr. Ryan?
Timothy F. Ryan's 316 Main Street. I don't know if this is appropriate to the question, but if the town decides to vote on this evening and the clock starts for the 6-month delay and no one purchases this property, would it be possible for our local fire department to do a control burn exercise at that property? Could that be done? To save $20,000?
Chief?
Why should
And that's asking,
they do it in other towns and other cities?
yes, but there's a lot that has to go into the formulation of that decision, and it may be unfair of us to put the chief on the spot and require him to give us a formal or a final answer tonight.
It can be done, but the proper avenues have to be taken to do with DEP and all that. It can be done, and to do it on a state highway is gonna be difficult as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll ask again, is there anybody who has not yet spoken on this topic who wishes to address the meeting? Anybody who has already spoken who would like to make a final comment? Mrs. Goulart, if you have something new or different to say than what you've already discussed, you may address us.
I would have told the gentleman that left that I think most people know, we have an active program in town to acquire property for open space and recreation. That property could be used for that, so it's not a waste. And the other thing I will point out is, if, when the time comes, the 6 months are up, a decision has to be made, because if you leave the structure there, it must be insured, even if it's falling down because it's a liability. So we don't have to incur those expenses either.
Thank you. I call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. 16. Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer free cash a sum of $50,000 to be expended by the highway superintendent to purchase a wide area mower.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a recommendation by the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Carries. 17.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $47,250 to be expended by the highway superintendent to purchase a new 1-ton pickup truck and any related equipment.
Motion made and seconded as read. FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thank you. Discussion? Yes, Mr. Rosen?
Rosa Lincoln Avenue, they specify a one-ton pickup truck here without, the specs on a one-ton is very similar to a three-quarter ton. There's no, it doesn't appear to be any discussion or real reason to go to a one-ton pickup. So I'm wondering if they can speak to that for a minute.
Is Mr. Ferry here tonight? Mr. Ferry? Why do you need a one-ton pickup truck? And what are the specs that you want for it? That's the question.
Pickup truck does various jobs, including carrying 100 gallons of fuel at all times, plus whatever necessity happens, with storm events and whatnot.
Can you let us know why you would select a 1-ton over a 3/4 ton truck?
Just for that reason, for carrying equipment and fuel.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. 18.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $35,000 to be expended by the highway department to purchase a man lift.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. 19.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $28,035 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the installation of sidewalks along Center Street, Somerset Ave, Pearl Street, and Main Street.
Motion made and seconded as read. FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. 20.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $8,000 to be expended by the Board of Assessors to be used as assistance for the fiscal year 2021 reevaluation of real estate and commercial property for the town of Dighton.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Very good. Discussion? All right, let's vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. 21.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $13,990 to replenish the following data processing budgets. Network data processing, $8,000, and the treasurer collector data processing, $5,990.
Thank you. Is there a FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thanks. Motion's been made and seconded as read with the Finance Committee recommendation. Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. 22.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $6,000 to be expended by the highway superintendent for an enclosed trailer to store voting equipment.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thank you. Discussion? Mr. Rosa?
Rosa, Lincoln Avenue. This equipment, what's stored in the trailer, is it environmentally protected, say from the growth of mold or other environmental problems?
Mr. Ferry?
Yes, we will be interested in evaluating this market.
Thank you. Other comments, questions, or discussions? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye, please. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. 23.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $15,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for surveying and engineering along Main Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Very good. Motion made and seconded as read with a FinCom recommendation. Discussion? Yes, Mr. Reedy.
What are we doing on Main Street?
Mr. Ferry?
Yes, we're going to be considering a joint venture with the Water District. We're going to be interested in changing the water main before I resurface the road. So we can not dig up the road after we resurface.
What's your time frame?
We need the survey first to create a plan and all of this, and then we can have a time frame.
Thanks, Mr. Reedy. Comments, questions, anything else? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 24.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $100,000 to the other post-employment benefits liability trust fund established to cover the unfunded actuarial liability for retirees' health care and life insurance benefits.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Yes. Now, may I ask, could you please address the amount of $100,000 being less than that in the article?
If I
You
may.
may.
So, as we've done every year, we address what we have for available funds after the article is put in. Additionally, this year, we did fund some money into that account in the annual town meeting. So this was the number that we worked with. You know, the treasurer submits her number every year, and she has an expectation that there'll be some discussion with the finance committee at the end of the day of where we could be. One of the really positive signs is from a funding standpoint, we are away as a leader in funding our unfunded liabilities when you look at surrounding communities and communities across the state. So I think we're roughly between 15 and 20% funded once this $100,000 goes in. I will give you an example. I was talking to the leadership in Raynham, and we have about correct my number, 1.2 or 1.3 million of our 6 million fundage. They have $75,000 of $17 million funded. So we are doing a great job as a community in keeping up with our unfunded liabilities, or trying to get caught up on our unfunded liabilities.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Comments, questions, or discussion from the floor? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. 25.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer from the certified balance of free cash from the treasury a sum of $200,000 to the capital stabilization account.
Okay, motion made and seconded as read. Council, is this a 2/3 vote? Is already going into 2/3? Okay, thank you. Is there a Finance Committee recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
Thank you. Discussion? We'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. 26.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $8,000 to be expended by the Council on Aging and combined with grant funds to be used to construct a canopy at the Primetime Adult Care Facility.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there a FinCom recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends.
There is. Discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. 27.
Mr. Moderator.
Chico.
I move that the town explore changing the name of the Board of Selectmen to Select Board in the form of a non-binding referendum as printed in Article 27 of the October 28, 2019 special town meeting warrant. Board of Selectmen recommend.
Okay. Motion made and read as seconded. Mr. Pacheco, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I had asked that this be placed on the warrant. I had asked that we have an up or down vote as to whether we should change the Board of Selectmen to the Select Board. Approximately 84 towns have done this out of the 294 towns. We're not really here to debate whether it's Select Board or Board of Selectmen. We're here to discuss whether or not we should put this on a ballot for our town election in April. So if it does pass, we will have a public forum on this so we can discuss all we want about whether we should be changing the name. But right now, my colleagues had asked that this be a non-binding referendum. I had asked that it be a binding referendum, but it's a non-binding referendum. But please support this so that we can put it on the ballot and we'll have plenty of time to discuss this and discuss whether or not you're in favor or oppose this. I personally am in favor of this. Thank you.
Other comments, questions, or discussion? Ms. Goulart.
Yes, being the only female member of the board, I am opposed to this. I'm opposed to moving it forward. However, as a compromise, so that we could get the input from the residents of the town of Dighton, my colleague, Dr. Z, and I voted to put this on as non-binding. My personal opinion of being called a selectman, it's historic. It goes back to the founding of the country. It goes back to the Constitution for the state. This is something unique to New England. We don't have selectmen outside of New England. It's an honor to serve. It's an honor to be called a selectman. I don't need a title to indicate that I am male or female. It doesn't hinder me doing the job. As I said, I am very honored to have been elected. It doesn't change anything. And so I'm asking that this be defeated tonight and we remain selectmen.
Thank you. Dr. Z, did you have your hand up?
No.
Mr. Schwartz?
Can I just ask a question to the board?
We can ask it to me.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. Will this, because it's non-binding, will it be placed on the annual town meeting warrant? Because I believe that changes as significant or insignificant as one might rather should be on an annual town meeting warrant and not, we hope to have more people at every meeting, not just the annual, but special always tends to be our smaller of the two meetings. And changes, bylaws, wordings like this that are really town-wide should be handled at an annual town meeting. So
So my question is, will this be placed on the annual town meeting warrant after those forums are held? For a final determination?
If I may, let's just take this 27. This is asking in this warrant article that there be a ballot vote at the town election, not the annual town meeting. That's my, Mr. Pacheco, am I correct?
That's correct. We're going to have more people at the annual town election versus the annual town meeting.
Thank you. If I may, is there anybody who has not yet spoken on this before Mrs. Goulart has the floor again? I generally let everybody speak once before we return to those who have already spoken. Dr. Z.
The reason I support this tonight is because more people vote at the annual town election. I think there's probably, I don't know how many people are here tonight, maybe 70, maybe 80. Usually anywhere between 400 or 500 to 800 people come out to the annual town election. So I support this because I think either yes or no, however the chips fall at the annual town election, I think since more people vote, I think that's a better sense of how the people in town feel about changing the name.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Robert Brendan, 2363 Cedar Street. The reason why I would vote against this tonight is exactly the same reason Dr. Z said we should. I don't think this should be a part of the election. We all know how public forums work, that we get very low turnout there. It's not just a special town meeting that we get this kind of showing. It's all forums, we get very low turnout unless we have interested parties. So if we don't have interested parties and you have a concern over the discussion about Board of Selectmen versus Select Board, how do we expect people to form an opinion about how to vote? Okay, and so my point is at annual town meeting, that is our point of discussion with the most number of people in attendance. Thank you.
I have a question myself about this. If this is to take a non-binding vote tonight about whether or not to put the matter on the ballot at our annual election, if it's non-binding, you can still decide whether or not to put it on the ballot.
I was going to ask you if you would allow the town clerk to explain this motion and what you're asking, because she did the research on it, so that's why it's here.
Madam Clerk.
Hello. So how this pretty much works, is, this first article, it's a little confusing. So you're gonna vote on this article and say, yes, I would rather it be select board versus select men, okay? That only brings us to the next article, which is the article that really matters. So what you would do is, yes, you say yes on this, we go to Article 27. You say no on this, we skip Article 27. This can't be done at our next annual town election. If you vote tonight on Article 26 and 27 to change it from select men to select board, it has to go to the state legislature. It's a home rule petition. It works the same way we did when we had the recall. Okay, it goes to our legislature through our state rep and our state senator, through the Board of Selectmen. Once it passes through the state legislature, in that home rule petition, it clears up that it would then go to an election, one of the town elections on the ballot, or a state election if there's one coming up, so we don't have to spend the money at the annual or special to do this. So once it gets approved, then it goes to a vote. So this getting voted tonight does not go to our next election in April. It has to go through the process at the state legislature. Once it gets approved there, we get something from the governor signed off saying it has been approved, and then we move forward and put it on our next election.
So are you saying that even if we vote this yes tonight,
And
the effect is what?
if you vote yes tonight on Article 27, that yes, you want to have it changed, then we go to Article 28 to allow the town, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition us legislatures at the state to put this on their next act, special act, it becomes a special act of legislature. Exactly the same way the recall was done, the same exact process. But this Article 27 allows the Board of Selectmen to petition our legislatures to do this.
I see this as saying if you vote for Article 27 positively, I'm not sure that you can vote for 28 because 27 is asking you to put this off until April.
Well,
And
then that article.
Madam Clerk, if I may finish, all right? So if you vote no on 27 and that carries, you can still vote for 28 positively tonight, and then it would go directly to the legislature after tonight's vote.
I motion to table, Mr. Moderator. Motion to table.
Second. You're motioning to table Article 27?
Correct.
Okay. That is a non-discussion motion, Mr. Lyons. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. A motion to table is a non-discussion motion. I believe it requires 2/3 of our body to go forward. And I just want to check on that quantum of vote. So if you give me 1 minute to do so. Madam Clerk, do you have the final one?
I do.
That's how they do it, right? Hey, did you get close up on my head? I did. I get the trunk. Did you? Oh, your phone's over here. I didn't know what drilling was. Somebody had to tell me. Yeah. Did you know that? Really? No way. Man law. Man law. Man rules. Man law. Who's your voice?
All right, may I have your attention, please? The quantum of vote is indeed 2/3. I'm going to take a voice vote if it's other than unanimous, which I do anticipate that it would be. I'm going to close the doors, have the checkers come forward, announce to me what the total number of attending registered voters are, and we'll take a hand count. All in favor of the motion to table, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. I cancel the voice vote. Checkers, would you close the door? Please, everybody remain seated. And I would ask for the checkers to come forward right up to the podium, please. if you could just slide the chairs back if you don't mind. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, there are 84 registered attendees who checked in. Could the checkers please, Ms. Reading? How about the guy who left? Could I please have all checkers who are going to count? Okay, so there will be 3 checkers. Ma'am? I'd like you to count the stage. I'd like you to count the left side. I would like you to count the right. After you count, please come forward and stay here until I dismiss you, okay? All right. The checkers are going to take a hand count in a moment. They're going to count row by row. Please keep your hand high until after the checker has well passed your row. And also, will you count anybody who is standing in the back? Okay? All in favor of the motion to table, signal your vote by raising your hand now.
Hold on. Wait, just let us count. She missed you.
Stay there, please. Stay there, please. Okay, could you stay here, please? All those opposed to the motion to table, please signal your vote by holding it up now. Holding your hand up. Checkers are dismissed. Thank you. There were a grand total of 84 people who had checked in, whether they're here or not now is regardless. And 41 in favor, 27 opposed. It does not carry by 2/3. So the motion is defeated, and we're back to discussing the motion on Article 27. Thank you. Okay. Schwartz.
To the point, because I was confused on Article 27 and 28. I thought by doing this as a non-binding that it would precipitate meetings across the town in order to develop. And I echo my points of earlier that this is an article that should be on annual town meeting before the selectmen send it to the state to be placed on a ballot. I'm not speaking for or against the merits of it, but this is the type of article that should be on annual town meeting. We should never be sending an article to the state legislature based on a special town meeting article unless it is something that is totally publicized and advocated for to bring as many residents to the town and have their voice heard. That's why I advocate for this being held at annual town meeting, not special town meeting.
Yes. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Let's call a vote. All in favor of the motion under Article 27, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. It's defeated. 28.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen under Section 8 of Article 89, the Home Rule Amendment, to petition the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts authorizing the town of Dighton to change the name of the Board of Selectmen to Select Board as printed in Article 28 of the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. Discussion? Mr. Pyrus.
I understand the article, and I think it's kind of a little redundant from 27. We just voted down 27 to change the name of the Board of Selectmen. Now we're going to allow them to petition to change their name. That's how I'm reading. I could be reading it wrong.
I think you're reading it wrong, respectfully. This motion right now, if allowed, is asking the selectmen to immediately contact the state legislature to request a name change right away.
We say no. That's a big no.
There's a motion to table with a second. I'll take a voice vote. If it's other than unanimous, I'll have the checkers come forward. It's a non-discussion motion. It requires 2/3. All in favor of the motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. The motion to table will be taken by hand count. The checkers can come forward.
I didn't do the doing my duty here.
May I please have your attention? Ma'am in the back by the door, do you wish to leave right now? All right, go ahead, please. All right. Again, I point out that we have 2 non-voters on stage, our town council and town administrator, so please do not count them. I assume that no one new has checked in, we're still at 84? Yes? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to table, please signal your vote by raising your hand now. All those opposed to the motion to table, please signal by raising your hand now. Two. 14. Thank you, checkers. The votes have been tallied. It was 48 in favor of the motion to table, 17 opposed. There were 65 total votes. 48 in favor. That does carry by a 2/3 vote. So any action under Article 28 is tabled. We go to 29. Is there a motion under Article 29? I hear no motion called for under 29. I declare no motion has been made. We go to 30. Yes, sir.
Establishing a condition of disability in the town of Dighton.
Motion made and seconded as read. Is there any discussion? Well, then we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries unanimously. 31.
Moderator, move to dissolve the meeting.
There's a motion made to dissolve the meeting. There's a second, I hear. It's a non-discussion motion. Put it right to a vote. All in favor of dissolving the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries. Thank you and good night.
Yeah, that one.